After the topic of legal arguments, there is my topic, which is comparison with other relevant case law. This case can be analyzed alongside other instances of alleged false advertising and breach of contract, focusing on whether the statements made constituted legally binding offers or were merely invitations to treat. Defendants in similar cases have often argued that their statements did not amount to binding offers, particularly when the resulting agreements could lead to unilateral contracts. The comparison highlights varying interpretations of advertisements as contractual offers. And my first related case of Brooke v. Dawson is Harris v. Nickerson in 1873. In the case of Harris v. Nickerson, the defendant, Nickerson, a furniture dealer, advertised a 3-day auction sale. Harris, who was interested in purchasing the furniture, traveled to the auction at his own expense, only to find that the advertised items had already been sold. Disappointed, Harris sued Nickerson for breach of contract, seeking compensation for his travel expenses. The court ruled that Nickerson's advertisement did not constitute a binding contract, but was merely a contract that only been formed if Nickerson accepted a bid from the auctioneer, which was Nickerson. This decision is consistent with the reasoning in Brooke v. Dawson, where an advertisement was similarly deemed an invitation to business dealings rather than a legally enforceable offer. The outcome in Harris v. Nickerson underscores that general advertisements are not automatically binding unless they explicitly satisfy the elements of a valid offer, such as certainty, intent, and acceptance. Now on to the second related case, which is Carlo v. Carbolic Smoke Ball Company Limited, which happened in 1891 to 1894. In contrast, the case of Carlo v. Carbolic Small Ball Company Limited demonstrates circumstances in which an advertisement can constitute a legally binding unilateral contract. In this case, the Carbolic Smoke Ball Company advertised a product that claimed to prevent illness, particularly and especially influenza, if used as instructed. The advertisement guaranteed a £100 reward to anyone who contracted influenza despite using the product, and the company showed its seriousness by depositing £1,000 in a bank as evidence of their intent. Mrs. Carlisle used the products as directed but still contracted influenza. When the company refused to pay the £100 reward for breach of contract, the Court of Appeal ruled in her favor, determining that the advertisement was a clear, definite, and enforceable offer. The company's depositing £1,000 reward demonstrated their intention to be legally bound by the promise. This case differs significantly from Brooke v. Dawson, where the lack of clear terms and guarantees in the advertisement meant that it cannot be considered a binding offer. The specificity of the terms and demonstrable intent to follow through on the promise set Carlo v. Carbolic Smoke Ball Company apart as a landmark decision affirming the enforceability of certain advertisement as contracts. And finally, this leads me to my third and final related case, Spencer v. Hardin, which took place in 1870. The case of Spencer v. Hardin provides further insight into the principle in invitations to treat versus the binding. In this case, Hardin distributed a circular inviting tenders for stock, but did not explicitly state that they would sell to the highest bidder. Spencer, having submitted the highest tender, was disappointed when the defendants refused to sell and subsequently sued for breach of contract. The court ruled in favor of Hardin, with Judge Wills concluding that the circular did not constitute a binding offer, but instead an invitation to treat. The judge clarified that the invitation to submit tenders did not obligate Hardin to submit the highest tender, emphasizing that the circular lacked any explicit language committing to such an obligation. This ruling underscores a key legal distinction later applied in Brooke v. Dawson. Advertisement, invitations, or circulars that lack definitive terms and commitments cannot form the basis of legally enforceable contract. The case illustrates how courts evaluate the presence of intent to create a binding agreement, which is essential in determining many contractual obligations. That is the end of my topic, and I would present the next slide.